Hello, everyone. Welcome to FincoPath Video Podcasts. Today, we have the pleasure of hosting Svetlana Nornia. Svetlana is the Director of Content at Movie India. For those of you who do not know, Movie is a global curated film streaming platform which probably has one of the most niche and unique content on global and Indian cinema. Movie also produces and theatrically distributes films by emerging and established filmmakers, which are exclusively available on its platform. Movie is currently available in 190 countries across the world, including an exclusive curation for Indian films. Prior to working for Movie, Svetlana has been the head of the year-round program at MAMI. She has also worked as the deputy director of Film Bazaar at NFTC and a cinema programmer at Soho House in Pune. Svetlana, welcome to FilmCopat.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me here.
Svetlana, we are very excited to have you here because we have previously talked to many movie directors and actors, but this is the first time that we are getting the chance to actually talk to somebody who is into curation. Although I understand you do not like the term curation because we heard your interview, but that's what comes to my mind. So we are really thankful and that we got a chance to interact with you today. My first question to you is that how your interest and love for cinema start in general? Like, is there any backstory to it, or was it like organic right from the child?
Actually, there is. It's hard to say if there's a specific backstory to it. I didn't really grow up in an environment where watching films was encouraged. Uh, the Indian films in different languages that used to come on Doordarshan on Sundays was the extent of film exposure as far as I mean as far as I remember. And then as growing up, going to cinema halls was severely discouraged, especially to see popular films. If there was some landmark film that my parents thought that that this is sounds like something landmark film event, and then I can literally count the number of times I've been to cinema as a child on my fingers. Oddly enough, I remember my parents thought for some reason Bombay by Bani Ratnam was a film that we definitely had to see in the cinemas. So I remember all of us going together for that one, and yeah, how impactful that film was at that point in my life. That aside, I mean, as growing up, exposure to cinema was, of course, late. Going to cinema halls was discouraged, but once the VCRs came in, getting a film home and watching it at home was completely allowed. So thanks to the neighborhood VCR guy who would recommend that ye English film hai, ye dekh lo, and that kind of stuff, that sort of gave a chance to see different kinds of films other than Hindi films. Besides that, apart from having a interest in literature and just being interested in arts in general, there was no specific being obsessed with films that I remember. I used to watch a lot of films indeed, but I never felt that this was going to be a career. At the most, I definitely at some point must have thought that writing or journalism could be a career because of the kind of environment I was in, and the kind of media and books that we were consuming at home. It sort of everything sort of happened in my life as far as reaching this place work-wise is concerned is just like more like coincidence after coincidences. I studied engineering. I did a BTech in biotechnology, and a lot of time in college was spent in seeing films. We used to go to the cinema hall, bunk college and go to the cinema hall and catch up on all possible commercial cinema. And then back in the hostel, there were pen drives and hard drives doing the rounds, which were all kinds of, other kind of cinema, not commercial cinema. So that was essentially where I think I consumed the most, like sort of my film schooling happened. And then I happened to study at Indian Institute of Mass Communication, where I would say where I would say that I was closer to a certain kind of films. I was closer in an environment where a certain kind of films were encouraged, so that that natural tendency to watch a certain kind of films developed there. And it was just a stroke of luck that I got a job at Internship at International Film Festival of India while when I just finished studying there, and that's from there sort of one thing led to another. That job at IFFI led to another job at Katha Center for Film Studies, which was a niche curation non-profit organization based in Bombay, and from that to NFDC and to here, it's just like one thing led to another.
Shwetlana, so maybe the most cliched statement we will have today is movie is different from all other OTTs. Not going by the content, just by you show the credits at the end of the film, which many other OTTs do not, and I do not know why that happens. But then movie, the content and all is more for the cinephiles, someone with acquired taste, predominantly the content. So when you do this, as a director of the content, when you do this selection, how do you analyze and consider that, okay, this one fits the movie, this one should go? Rather, we would like to know how you do the deselection, which you think should not be included, or is there any policy like that at all?
I mean, there is no formal policy, but of course, everybody, we have a team that is watching films and, analyzing films and checking if they're a fit for us or not a fit for us. So there is a sort of unsaid understanding in that sense that what would be, what would work for us. Also, this works on, various, it's not just a judgment on a film, a permanent judgment on a film. It works, it's sort of a matter of time as well, that every film that we are signing for movie, we sign it for a particular duration. So maybe right now it does not seem like a fit for any programming that we have in mind. Maybe 2 years down the line, that same film could fit into certain programming idea that we have, some upcoming special, some upcoming thematic that we want to follow. Again, so in the future, a doorway could open for the same film. So I would say it's more or less, it's more about our immediate programming requirements than about the film itself in a way. Of course, certain things, I can't even say that you wouldn't see, it's hard for me to say that, you will never see XYZ film on movie. You never know. Tomorrow we might want to do a fun, entertaining focus on some odd filmmaker who's probably a very mainstream filmmaker and present, and then bring that film in as a part of that. Movie is essentially, as you guys would, viewers of movie know, a celebration of cinema in all its forms and ways, and we definitely stand behind a certain kind of films and certain kind of narratives that we want to push further. But at the same time, it's like a never say no.
Right. Just to add to that, what Arup asked right now. So we also see that you have movies like Adon or Andaz Apna Apna or Kalia or Jab We Met on movie. Yeah. So what is the criteria you specifically look for when you're going for a mainstream movie and not a different one or a niche
one? See, within mainstream popular cinema, we cannot deny its value, its power, and its ability to connect with people and communicate to people. What we also need to keep in mind when, looking at the platform holistically in India is that that there has to be a little bit of balance in narratives that we are presenting. I mean, all these films have different, and that's why we have the R takes, because we sort of specify there that why this film is there on movie. And so all these films are special in their own right, and I wouldn't even compare them to the other kind of Indian films, the experimental and the art house films, because it's like comparing chalk and cheese,
Right.
These films have a niche on their own. They are fun, they're entertaining, and they are important sort of in terms of larger film history or larger history of the film culture in the country. So that's also a thing that we keep in mind, that, is it a film that is an important sort of significant milestone in the larger film culture of the country. Also, as well as, to keep in mind that just to be very frank, a certain kind of cinema can be very heavy,
Right.
on the viewers. So if you've come on movie and you've done a lot of intense watching, there are a few breathers here and there.
Right.
Right.
So, talking about that balance you just mentioned, do you feel there's any particular industry or any particular country where this balance is better than the others, or the line between this mainstream and parallel is to an extent quite overlapping? We hear a lot about Malayalam cinema doing that.
Yeah.
Mainstream and parallel, they're kind of close to each other. So you have the same feeling, something like that?
Yeah, I would agree to that. That the kind of Malayalam cinema that we see, some of it in some kind of Hindi independent cinema is also doing that. At the same time, I've happened to see certain Assamese films and these films from Arunachal Pradesh, which are also not particularly mainstream. They are narrative-driven films, but they're not art house in that sense where they alienate a viewer. They're engaging, entertaining films to watch. Of course, they're in languages that don't speak to a wider audience. That's a different thing, and that's where we come in, that we bring those films on the platform for them to reach a wider audience. But I can't really say that XYZ has figured it out and doing it right. It's such a the industry and around the world, even within India, in different languages, is in a constant state of flux. Or even though we see great films consistently coming out of even Tamil Nadu, Malayalam, Bengali cinema, of course, Marathi cinema, we see great films consistently coming out in these languages. But having said that, has someone cracked it is a very, huge statement to make. I think it's, in general, as a film culture across the country, we're always going to be in this state of a flux.
Right.
And so even if we talk about, say, cinephile or acquired taste, in one side, there are directors like, say, a Kubrick or a Martin Scorsese, Satyajit Ray, which is definitely acquired state, definitely kind of pure cinema. But there is a certain respite in the way they make their films, the pacing and all of that. On the other side, you have someone like Love Diaz. There are so many films of Love Diaz in your platform, which is pretty demanding. I mean, personally, what I have seen is, when I've been to festivals, there would be the whole crowd while a Love Diaz film starts. And by the end of it, 6 hours or whatever, these films, recently they are lesser, but previously they were like 6-7 hour films. Handful only won't be there in the theater. So do you actually see that, in a country like India, where cinema is considered more of an entertainment, we have that kind of a taking for film like Love Diaz or, say, Moneyball, directors who are like very different. Love Diaz is very different from a Kubrick or a Satyajit Ray.
Yeah.
So you see that kind of a taking, or that response is there?
There is, I would say there is definitely a response. I don't remember, like somebody in my friend circles, I remember Sarantango played at Mami. And as we know, it's like an 8-hour film.
Right.
And I know of a person who sat through the 8 hours, was in the cinema for 8 hours to watch that film. So, what I feel in general, that when we really like something, so say I really like, and I've gone through this probably when I was a younger person, that I really like Moneyball films. And I want that to be widely acknowledged. I want more people to like his films. And I feel very angsty that why aren't enough people watching Moneyball films? But as you grow up, you realize that, there are other people also appreciating his cinema and his work, but it will never be in the same volume as those who like the mainstream or general, more popular or more accessible works of other filmmakers. So there will be people, I won't say, though, there will always be people who appreciate that cinema. There will always be a younger crop of filmmakers who would, take inspiration from such filmmakers. There will always be a crop of young film students, film tourists who will, see inspiration in those filmmakers, see value in their work. But it would probably never be in the same volume that we see. And the volume of the other side, people who appreciate accessible, simple narrative films. I'm not saying mainstream films, any films which is just like a simple linear narrative films, people who appreciate them are always going to be way more in number. Some people will always be on both sides, they can watch this and watch that as well. But we'll have to sort of come to terms with the fact that it won't be the same. It won't be the proportions will always be tilted in their direction.
I mean, we are struggling, in our channel also, we are struggling with that, because on one side, when we put videos of, say, a mainstream film, there's some kind of a response. And we also want to talk about, few directors whom people might not know, like we posted a video on Elia Suleiman very recently.
Yeah.
And the taking is so less that we get motivated. At the same point of time, we also, as you are telling, we have to come to terms with that. So yeah, I think that's a struggle for.
I think Elia Suleiman was going to make his stream all his films free for some time. No, you should sort of talk about on your social, maybe talk about his. Here are the films, and here is our talk on his works.
I mean, that is, unfortunately, that was not for India. It is for the US, Canada, and the Middle East. But then even then, we have some people from there. So that's the reason we actually wanted to put, so that people know about, this filmmaker. So yeah, okay.
I think that is also like a small victory in a way, that we could introduce somebody like an Elia Suleiman, if not his cinema, but we could talk about his cinema to people. And even if a 50 or 100 people watch it, I think somewhere we were successful, not greatly successful, but a few watched. I would like to put you a little bit on the spot here now, Svetlana. So is there any process to understand which demography watch the movie films more? I mean, the niche films which you come up with. Within our limited experience, we find that at least when we make videos, our South Indian viewers are more interested in watching that, say, compared to the other parts. So is there any way to understand and see, or do you find any trend in the way people are watching your videos at certain part more, or certain age more?
Actually, not really, I mean, of course, sometimes there is a skew towards the metros sometimes, which is not just Delhi, Mumbai, but, other bigger cities as well. Say a Bangalore or a Trivandrum or a Chennai, so sometimes you see a bit more of skew towards the metros. But having said that, we've actually received responses from around the country, like sometimes, really touching notes and very thoughtful messages from around the country. So we're quite certain that there is an imprint, and there is, especially because of, educational institutions which are there in every corner of this country, and a lot of almost all of them have at least a media course or a literature course, and those students there are, I know of groups of students who do sort of a sharing. So like 2 of them will get a movie subscription for themselves, and so those kind of things. So that means the imprint is quite nationwide in that sense. Of course, sometimes with certain particular films, there is a skew that, if an interesting Malayalam film has come on the platform, so we definitely see a higher interaction from that region, as compared to other regions. But I wouldn't even say that happens all the time. With certain films are so universally popular that, for example, just to give a bad example in that sense, say if it's a film featuring, say, Fahad Fasil, who's sort of now well known, across. So one would see a response from everywhere. But if it's an older film like a Mohanlal film, so probably the response would be higher from Kerala or around. But it's been more or less, as we're growing, and we're still very young in India in that sense. It launched late 2019. So as we are growing, we're noticing that we were also worried that it will only be metros, but we're noticing that the imprint is, going wider, and which sort of gives us a lot of hope. Also, I feel, I mean, it's not something I've seen in the statistics, but I personally feel that a viewer in non-metro regions is more interested. The curiosity to know the world, to see to understand, and to, to find out what's happening in the world, rest of the world, is higher there.
Right.
It's a very interesting insight.
Yeah, I think they are much less cynical than the city people, because
much less distracted also by, the pretenses of city life, like yeah.
Right.
When as you mentioned, when movie launched in India, I think there were some plans about producing originals like we have. So is that still in there? You think about producing something original?
It will
content?
take I mean, we are producing, globally speaking, we're producing films.
Yes.
So we have a department that's sort of taking care of that. But in India, it will take a lot of time, at least for next 5 years, another 5 years before we start considering that for India, because the idea is to first establish as a OTT platform in India.
Shweta, I was also very interested to understand, there are very, very rare films that I have found in movie. Like I'll give you an example, Palonko. That was one Bengali film I have been looking for years, in every possible, CD, DVD library, anyone with hard disk and whatever. That too with a good quality, I suddenly found in movie. So how does these things come up to you? So anyone approaches you, or you look out and get some prints, or you do any mastering? How does this rare film come to your collection?
See, we are not doing any mastering in India. So it's, of course, the distributors and the right holders of these films. The credit goes to them for remastering and preserving a good print of the film. How we work is that we reach out to distributors and right holders in the country, and we ask them for a list of films that, please let us know what films do you have rights for. And once they share the entire catalog with us, we make a selection from that these are the ones that we want for our platform. So that's essentially, I wouldn't take credit that I went hunting for, that film. But it's just that we were looking at, say, a distributor who has a library of Bengali films. And once we found one, they shared a catalog of films with us, and that's how such titles, it's of course, ideal scenario going in the future would be that we be able to have that kind of bandwidth where, we're aware of a certain rare title and we go looking for it and, find the right holder, etc. But that's also a time consuming exercise. So for now, we definitely try and go for, try to find right holders who have these well-preserved titles.
Okay, so now another difficult one maybe. So, this whole thing about censorship, which is kind of, on the verge of coming to OTT. And, what we felt when we were discussing for other OTTs, there is a way, because if they are producing something, they might tweak their ways around the policies and all. For you, it's like you promote a lot of people who are, wanting to make honest films, which are at times provocative as well. Like, I might get some other films of Sanal Kumar Shashidharan otherwise, but a Unmadi Ure Maranam, which we could watch in movie, that I would not be getting anywhere else. Now, if this actually happens, is there any way you are planning of tackling this situation, or else how do we at all watch these films?
See, I mean, it's something we'll all see when it comes, when that day comes. It's obviously not an ideal scenario and not something that one looks forward to. But having said that, if if something eventually we reach a stage where certain things are required by the rule book for the platform to function in the country, we'll have to look at what is whatever is possible within those frameworks.
Right.
At the same time, personally, I'm optimistic that I guess we'll find some way around, and hopefully we'll be able to keep on showing the kind of films that we've been showing.
Okay.
We do not go for that.
I mean, there are way more provocative films out there than we show on movie. So
Obviously.
yeah, which are streaming for free on YouTube.
That is true.
So
No, I mean, like you might also get away with the fact that the provocation of a movie which is on running on Movie India, that is also not very easy to understand. I mean, you have to have a certain understanding of the symbolism being used. If it is not too on the face, I do not think it's very easy to straight away take it and be offended by it.
hopefully,
So
hopefully.
yeah, I think that should work in your favor, and in turn that will be very good for us cinema lovers who really want to see some independent voices. I would like to ask you about your favorite filmmakers and your recommendations to watch for our audience and us also.
Oh my God, that is the most difficult question. Seriously, I mean, favorite filmmakers. I can still, there are so many whose works I have, who have really formed my way of thinking, and my understanding of the world, uh, and there is nothing unique in the list of my favorite filmmakers, because it's the same favorite filmmakers that anybody with any love for cinema has, right from Wong Kar-wai to Bela Tarr to Mani Kaul and Satyajit Ray and Ritwik Ghatak, and the likes. We all know how that goes. Something that I would really recommend, and people like you guys, who are cinephiles, have seen it, but I feel really happy and proud at some level that Mubi has a Kieslowski special on the platform, and that all those films are streaming on Mubi. And I would really love for everybody who's not hasn't really started, watching that kind of cinema, to watch the Kieslowski. Just go and watch all those films. There is State Funeral streaming on Mubi, which I really liked, and so that's something that I would definitely recommend. In fact, we have Sergei Loznitsa's documentary special running on Mubi, so that's one film. Turin Horse is a film that I really, really like, and it's also stayed in my memory because I saw that film at Mami, and it was a strange experience that year where the screening got interrupted twice, and then finally in the third day of trying to, in an attempt to see the film, the projection was correct and everything was correct, and the screening happened, and there were only 6 people in the audience that day, but that's a film that has sort of stayed in my head. Yeah, those are the only films I can sort of coming to me right at the top of my head. And now that I've mentioned Mami, there's a very unusual Russian film that I saw at Mami, which is again like literally 7 years ago. I'm just now thinking, which is Pi, I think and that was a very interesting film to watch. Indian short films that we have on Mubi are really, really impressive, and I feel really happy to share them with my global colleagues from other countries and my programming colleagues, because there's some really good work happening, and there is this short film, The Booth, and another one called Noore. We very recently a short film called Tamash has gone live. So they're all very interesting works. A Bengali short film that's going to come be coming on the platform in the coming months. So I'm giving you guys a, a breaking news, which is called The Fish Curry. It's an animation short. I mean, maybe you guys have heard of it, and it's a very beautiful and moving film. So that's another thing that people can watch on the movie.
Right. I think we are at the end of our discussion. Svetlana, thank you very much for joining us today. And this was a really interesting session. We got to know the insights of how actually movie works, and how many different ways you have curated films and got something for us as Indian audiences. We really appreciate the work you are doing at Movie, and please keep doing it. We really look forward to watch cinema on Movie.
Thank you so much.
I mean, I was talking to you over mail. I think, our country does not have a cinematheque. I have seen in other countries, there's a cinematheque where you go and you see retrospective of old masters and, contemporary classics and all. Movies actually filling that gap for us, where we kind of go and see, cinema that makes our language of cinema evolve. The way we have been looking, it changes when we watch few films. Not all films can do that for you, and this is the platform we get those films to watch.
Hopefully, so someday we'll reach a point. I really hope that we have cinematheques also in our country, and because that's one experience that sort of stays with films that you see, that community experience, films that you see on the big screen, and that's something that always sort of leaves an imprint on your mind. So thank you so much. All the best to you guys. It's really, I did check out your YouTube channel, and it's like really interesting work that you guys are doing. So I really hope it grows and a lot of people watch it and see your film recommendations.
Thank you.
Thank you.